Welcome back and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. We so often think about those billion-dollar big brand names that resonate for us with how we look at the economy, whether it's Apple or Google or GE or Ford, but never forget that the lifeblood of the economy is built on small businesses that were having a tough enough time even during normal conditions, whether it was getting a line of credit or just competing against big box retailers and e-commerce giants. Think about how many businesses struggle with just their own local listings on Google, let alone running ads or maintaining a social presence during a global pandemic and civil unrest. So how does an SMB win, and how do they win locally? Jeff Turbow is a marketing consultant, speaker, and founder of Winning Local. And on this episode, we'll discuss helping small to medium-sized businesses, Google My Business, TikTok, local TV, Facebook, fundamentals, creating wow moments, updating hours on local listings so I can show up on time to hoard toilet paper, Grisham movies, tassel wabagons, and a lot more. So let's tune in to a local SMB marketer with a winning shark who's likely to be swimming in a local ocean near you on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today on A Shark's Perspective. If you would, tell us a little bit about your background and your career to date.
Okay, thanks, man. I'm happy to be on the show. I've been working with small to medium businesses now for, I don't want to say exactly how long, but let's just say over 25 years. So I really enjoy it. I'm really passionate about helping small businesses grow and being an integral part of that process. That's kind of what I guess I get out of it, aside from getting paid. I really enjoy helping see a business go from A to Z and achieve success. So I've had a chance to do that through different types of partnerships. I've owned my own business for about 15 years, and then I've had the chance to work within major media companies out there, Raycom, Gannett, yellowpages.com, if anyone remembers that.
What's a phone book?
Yeah, they actually still publish those.
Do they really? I haven't seen that in years.
So, the one good thing about being in the Yellow Pages industry is we worked with all different types of businesses. So it was very valuable experience because we would literally be working with maybe a beauty shop one day, an attorney the next, and then some large medical facility or hospital the next. And they were one of the first traditional media companies to actually embrace especially search marketing. So it's literally where I started in internet marketing.
So we met at a conference, and I'm trying to remember. We met at a conference in New York where we both spoke. And then we ended up meeting at another conference in the South in Houston, and then got to talk a little bit more at several different ones, and then spoke both at a virtual conference that I emceed earlier in 2020 during the pandemic. But, I think really people are forgetting a lot about small businesses, or maybe not forgetting, maybe we're not even, I think, even understanding the impact of what the pandemic is going to have on small businesses. So many struggled just to fight in a normal world against the big box retailers, but especially now when you think of where they have to position themselves. Because, if you remember, so many of them, even that had inventory, were not considered essential. Yet they're having to compete, especially on an e-commerce route, against a lot of companies like Amazon, for example, that would have been considered essential with good reason. It's not necessarily a way to poo-poo on Amazon or Walmart, but there's so many small businesses that were really just struggling and trying to compete in the rest of the world. So now we're at a place that hopefully, as we start to see some light at the end of the tunnel with pandemic, it's really now a fight to survive and hopefully get back to thriving like in the good old days back in 2019 before the pandemic and murder hornets and college cheating scandals and important stuff like that. So how do you kind of look, at least initially, at how to start thinking about how to help these small businesses strive and thrive and survive and so on?
Yeah. So basically, over the past few months, definitely since being connected so much to small and medium businesses, my heart is very heavy for them right now, because what a lot of people, we all know that there's a pandemic going on, but what we don't really understand is that these small businesses are dealing with a convergence of not just this terrible pandemic that's happened that no one really understands how how to navigate, but they were also in the middle of a financial
Yeah.
situation, and
Hard
then
to get a loan.
also, yeah, and they're still dealing with many of them. A large majority are still dealing with how to navigate this internet revolution. So now you've taken and put all of that on them, and they're having to deal with that instantly. And that's just taking and wiping out so many small to medium businesses.
So, what to describe some of the businesses that you typically work with, the size of them, and the makeup and structure of a lot of the small businesses you work with today?
Yeah, so I mean, I work with anything from like universities and organizations of all different sizes, but my true passion is with that, you know, that orthodontist, the law firm, the boat dealer, the RV dealers, auto dealers, um, retail organizations, whether small mom and pop, small boutiques going online. So those are the kind of, I guess, typical categories that I work with: medical spas, just services and needs that we have every day.
So, where do you think that marketers are missing today when dealing with small businesses? Because so much of what we preach about, we often think about with the billion-dollar brands. And a lot of
Mhm.
that advice doesn't work the same way at a $1 million to $2 million brand, if that.
That's right. Well, even those levels of businesses are having to rethink everything as well. But where I think people are missing the mark, especially marketers or people, anyone that's in sales or business development, is they are still too focused on being sales centric and not customer centric. You know, really trying to push and peddle the latest, greatest versus what is really, truly the best tactic for the budget that the client has. And we all get caught up in the new whistles and whatever's coolest and what's trending. And like right now, I've got clients calling me and asking me, do I need to get on TikTok? And I'm like, well, do you know what your Google? When's the last time you updated your Google My Business listing? And they're like, what is that?
Exactly.
So I'm like, no, you don't need to be thinking about TikTok if you haven't logged into your Google My Business. So I try to bring people back to the basics and the fundamentals and make sure that that platform and that foundation is stable before they get too crazy with stacking on and layering on too many things. And I think marketers just run out and assume that these small to medium businesses already have a good website, it's converting traffic, they've got their Facebook or Instagram under control. And so now they're ready for this new hot latest and greatest, and they're really not. And by getting them down that path, it can further divert their attention from something that's super, super critical right now.
But are you on TikTok? That's what we need to know. Are you doing shuffle dances and
You might find me. I'm not going to talk too much about that. Let's just say I have a 14-year-old daughter. How does that?
there you go. Yeah. That that makes sense. So I often find, and well, at least I wonder, the great majority of the businesses out there today, the fuel of the economy of the engine here in the U.S. are small businesses. So
Yeah.
great majority of the businesses in this country are small businesses. And one of the conferences where we both spoke, when we spoke in New York, not every business is a large business, but obviously you see a larger confluence of agencies servicing larger businesses in New York. Then
Right.
we met at a conference in Houston. And although Houston is, the fourth largest city in the country, it still is fueled by mostly small businesses. So I often wonder, and I was sitting there in Houston last year, you start thinking about, is this the kind of advice that's going to service a small business? And you've spoken at quite a few conferences before. Do you think that people are typically getting the kind of advice, especially at conferences, that they need to get to help fuel a good small business?
I do. I think overall they do. I think that a lot of times the conferences are exactly what we said about the marketers. The conferences themselves want to be innovative. They want to portray the image of having the newest and most innovative speakers
Yeah.
and topics. And so they often kind of push to the side the basics and the fundamentals, but typically they're still there. So I do still think that most of the conferences, at least that I've been familiar with, You get a little bit of it all. I think it gets
Agreed.
confusing though
Yeah.
for that small business owner, because they have to take all of that information and then they have to decide, well, what's my top priority?
And I agree. A lot of the advice is really, really good. But what you often see is so many of the high profile names, those big brand names that sell sponsorships,
Yeah,
you get it. But Bob's Pizza, which has been thriving for 35 years and isn't going anywhere, his needs are much different than a large ERP. But a lot of times you're going to run to go listen to the big technology company or something like that. And so it becomes confusing. And then sometimes those big companies will tell a prettier story about TikTok, for example. And so
right.
it becomes really confusing for small businesses. I've talked a lot about this on my show as well when thinking about being in survival mode, focusing on customers more, and also changing a lot of the content. What else are you talking about other than content and that, but also other channels? What other channels in the paid media space? Where do you think people need to start investing their money as we come out of the pandemic?
So, generally speaking, about the small to medium business, I still think that they're struggling to understand Facebook. I think they've kind of gotten to the point where they understand they need to be on
How
search
so?
media. Well, because it's interesting that I still hear people saying that they think people are leaving Facebook, and it's more of a younger demo, or if it's much more of an older demographic. And I keep hearing those kind of rumors, and it's really it's upsetting to know that businesses have that perception about Facebook, because it's just not the case. And so some of them have like moved to Twitter, or they're moving to Instagram. They're taking their foot off of the Facebook base to steal over to Instagram. And again, it's about fundamentals, and it's about having a right building your business on a good solid foundation. And so when you start chasing different shiny objects, you lose ground sometimes with your foundation. And so I really just keep these businesses, especially small to medium, really focused on making sure that that very basic foundation of Google, Facebook, Google My Business, um, and possibly Instagram for many now. Make sure that that's really strong before layering in other things, and also making sure that they're gathering data, because many small to medium businesses aren't collecting email addresses. They're not collecting text numbers, again, because that's not the hot sizzle of the day. But it's so important that if someone walks in your store, if they don't buy anything, you could still get a huge asset if you just collect an email address and a text, because you can now retarget that customer. So again, that sounds so old school, but it's the fundamentals and it's the foundation. And I think that's what most are lacking. And it comes from just getting different direction from different marketers of, hey, try this, and have you heard about this? And this is so cool. You should be doing this. And so they get frustrated and they just almost want to throw their hands in the air.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I was just thinking about something you said, especially with TikTok again. Is TikTok? A lot of TikTokers are frustrated that so many people that are not just Generation Z have moved into the platform because it's been fun, not necessarily leaving Facebook, but you're seeing
Yeah.
a much more diverse crowd. And so, regardless if you're on any channel, still understanding your fundamentals. And I love the point about being strong in the ones that you're currently in, especially with, I mean, the one with Google My Business, especially just drives me insane because if you look at the pandemic, how few of them updated their listings where and when they were open for retail. And
Yeah.
even large businesses weren't
Oh, yeah.
updating their new hours, and you're driving down the street looking for a restaurant to pick up food from or something like that, or you try to order something through some restaurant, you go to their website or go to Google listings and those local listings, and they were wrong 90% of the time. And it amazed me how much business they were losing.
Yeah, I literally just spoke with a national massage brand, also a national men's haircutting brand, and they were struggling to find someone to help them with making sure that everything was updated there. And they were working with an agency, and I was just like shocked that they were struggling to find help in that space. That should be so easy to fix and update. And but when you have 100 locations, it's not as easy, but it's still not, it's not rocket science. And that's what we're supposed to do. That's how we're supposed to handle that for our clients. And we should be on top of that, and making sure that all of those things are correct, especially during a time like this.
Another thing that small businesses often need to focus on, I find a lot more, are reviews. So, how are you taking the time during the pandemic with your clients to sort of button those up?
Yeah, so first of all, making sure that at least my clients know where they stand with reviews at all times, making sure that we have a policy in place of how any negative reviews are being handled. Google did us all a favor by kind of taking those down for a while, so we didn't have to really worry about all of the madness. But there's still some of that. There's still people who want to voice their opinion about, someone who wasn't wearing a mask, or um, anything like that. So having a policy in place and making sure that those reviews get answered promptly is important. Something that I've been vetting for a long time is a really good system of being able to go out and help remove negative reviews. And I've finally been able to be successful at that. So there is a way to do that. If someone, if your competitors out there doing bogus reviews, or if there's a fake Gmail account that's out there writing fake reviews, those can be removed and deleted from the different sources. But making sure that they understand the importance of keeping up those positive reviews, and usually that's just, it's like everything else, it boils down to proper communication. And also, having someone in your organization to reach out to that person that left a sincere negative review. If you, most of the time I find, if you have a conversation with them and you do something that's fair and reasonable, people are generally fair and reasonable, and they'll go back and remove the negative review. And, if you're in the 3-star range, it's affecting your business. It's affecting sales. I mean, there's all kinds of research that shows once you drop below 4, your business can drop 20% or more.
Oh, it can destroy a small business super quick.
Sure.
So, how do you look at TV? I've talked a little bit about this before. I've got a pretty strong background in TV. I know you worked at Raycom for a while, and one of your presentations is also, you speak about TV. But one of the things that I think people get sometimes overly excited about is posting everything as a video on YouTube or Facebook, and that's where they start thinking about TV, because maybe a Gen Zer that's how they view it, as opposed to not knowing what NBC is, or one of
Yeah.
these legacy type TV brands. But still, again, if it's maybe not the new shiny object, but TV ads still deliver a lot of results in sales for clients. So where are you positioning them as far as how they look at TV today, especially in the small business world?
Yeah, so I think TV is in a really difficult situation right now. I think there's significant challenges there, have been for years, and many of them have not adapted to it very well, and some have. I think definitely there's TV is still extremely relevant. I think it depends on budget, and I think it depends on the client and who their audience is. I still love news. I'm not as big of a fan of specific programming as much anymore when it comes
Yeah.
to small and medium businesses. I like news, and I like their assets, like their email list, their websites, their Facebook lives on location. But now it's getting to the point where the problem with television is, you know, you can now serve that video ad to someone who has been on your website, has done a Google search. You can narrow it down to your customer list and serve it to people by address through their many devices. But you do still run into a few challenges where a lot of those videos are seen on a small screen, and they're not as compelling as that big TV screen that's hanging over the fireplace. So you have the impact effect there. So I see it as important, but I see it as almost like in the same category as serving ads over the top and YouTube. It's just another place to serve video now. It's not the place to serve video.
So one of the most important things that I think all businesses are going through, and I struggle wondering how much more advice I can give to small businesses, especially, is focusing on customer experience. We touched briefly a little bit earlier on looking at customers as opposed to just sales. But in the CX world, how do you sort of look at that with your clients and address that with how brands need to enhance the experience with their customers? Because this is something that's being heavily addressed, especially at larger businesses. But a lot of those don't pivot quickly. And so a smaller business can address this and pivot more quickly, but I don't know that they're necessarily, from a lot of the conversations I've had, paying enough attention to what customer experience really means to the end customer.
Yeah, and that's where it kind of comes into how it falls in the priority list
Yeah.
with the client. There's my priority of customer experience, and then there's the client's priority, and then there's the budget and all of that. And so all of that has to be properly balanced.
Well, one
Uh,
other thing is so many of those folks that made through hard work and a stroke of luck too, they did it their way, often for quite a few years. And so they get locked into knowing what's worked, but not necessarily having the right mindset to be able to pivot.
yeah. So I see the customer experience for the small, specifically more for the small, medium business. Um, I try to build that into their marketing programs. So, um, I mean, I guess I've always said I think one of my strengths is being a good listener. And someone that comes to mind right now is a pharmacy group that I worked with, and they had just these strict values and these strict beliefs that they really wanted to make sure that they communicated to their customers. So everything from the website to the ads to everything that we possibly could put out there, we tried to communicate their personal beliefs and feelings in that communication. And so incorporating it obviously into design, um, it sounds so basic and simple, but a lot of people still don't do that. That's just a basic, like almost no cost way of doing it. But then you can get into unique customer experiences, from when they go and visit a certain vehicle on a website that they're remarketed or retargeted or sent emails that are based around that particular vehicle that they're interested in, so that they don't feel like they're just in some sort of cookie cutter marketing program. Because the other problem that we have with customer experience is we've gotten so uh, dedicated to automation that our customers have now, they're starting to look for automation and they're very turned off by it. And as soon as you feel like you're being in an automated tunnel or funnel, um, as well as I do, it just doesn't feel the same. So, you got to be careful with automation. Um, it's got to provide the unique experience as well.
So one of the things that I've heard you present on at conferences, and it was the one again that I emceed not that long ago, was creating wow moments. Kind of describe, I know that's one of your sort of signature keynotes, but describe what wow moments are to you and how brands need to create them.
Yeah, so it's basically I kind of use it with my small and medium clients to kind of break out of the monotony of advertising that happens throughout the year. A lot of times we get kind of stuck in this rut of, just posting again on Facebook. And so one of the things I've always done is I've tried to um, get my clients engaged in having events throughout the year. And it could be surrounding like Mother's Day, Father's Day. And when I say event, it doesn't have to be like an on location event. It could just be something that's happening online. But that's kind of how I adapted, or how I kind of labeled wow moments. Um, and I really love that presentation, because I get to talk about, Samsung and what they did at the Oscars, and I get to talk about Oreo and what they did at the Super Bowl. But then I can also talk about, someone like California Pizza, which is still a major company, but how their simple little wow moment built around Mother's Day could be used by any business, any restaurant out there without a huge expense. So what I mean is basically just maximizing a holiday or an opportunity, or maybe even I use wow moments to take a negative and turn it into a positive. Um, I'm going to give you a couple of examples if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got an orthodontist right now, and their community is going through kind of a rebranding, trying to create a more positive image. They've had a lot of negative press lately, and so they went out and painted these "I love" their city name on buildings, so that hopefully people would take their picture there. Be like Instagram moments. And so this orthodontist was looking. They do T-shirts every year for back to school, and so they give a T-shirt to every new patient. So we've really used that to create like really good like community buzz. But this year we did something different. We took that "I love" city name. And we put it on masks. And so we're doing a relationship with a local nonprofit to where the nonprofit is going to get money from it, but then the community is going to get masks, and these masks are going to spread the community love and support. And at the same time, her brand is going to be lifted as well. So that thing is taking off right now. We just started that actually yesterday, and I mean it's going crazy. People want these masks. And it just has so many little tentacles of positive impacts, but yet it wasn't a very expensive campaign to launch. So for a small to medium business, that's what I mean by wow moments. They need to create moments throughout the year that really draws significant attention to their business. And if you really just create a little strategy time and you just set aside a little bit of extra budget, you can really do some really big impactful moments throughout the year, instead of just running that same old thing, all year long and being kind of stale in the market.
So give us a couple of tips on how we do that.
Okay, so some quick, free, inexpensive tips that a small to medium business can use right now is um, one thing is that I liked. Well, actually, this was a large company idea, but Lowe's, if you remember, they opened 1 hour early for seniors, which was really cool. It was really good for that particular audience, and it was also really good for them because it gave them a chance to kind of get acclimated to the day. Also, instead of having a lot of traffic in your stores, maybe take advantage of this time to do like VIP pricing or events. So maybe you literally are closed to the public for 3 or 4 hours during the day, and the only people that can come and attend are those on your email list. So it's a VIP, private reveal or special pricing event. Um, some of the businesses that do service work, like auto dealers, boating, RVing, hosting in-store training sessions when retail traffic is down. That's a good way to bring in a new connection with these customers and also pick up service work. Also, I don't want to overstate that we need to tell people that we're open and when we're open. We kind of talked about that on
Yeah,
Google My
local listing.
Business.
Yeah.
But a lot of businesses, I mean, I literally was just at the mall yesterday and I couldn't believe it that they closed at 7 o'clock. I mean, I was just automatically thinking 9 or 8, I guess 9 o'clock in the summer, especially with back to school. And they literally started closing all the doors at 7 o'clock. So making sure that people are aware of when you're going to be open and when you're going to be closing, because they missed out on some money for sure. um, so those are some, I guess, quick off the top of the head kind of ideas that small to medium businesses can use. But I love just kind of brainstorming with them and finding out what their challenges are, and then creating positive solutions to overcome those challenges. And I think the main thing, just to close with, is for small to medium businesses to get a partner they trust and someone that they can work with, that's kind of got their back, and just don't try to be everything. You're usually already taking the trash out, doing the accounting, and doing everything else. try to find somebody that can really help you with the marketing part because it's super critical.
Well, I really enjoy the part especially about local listings, and I agree with all those. But even large businesses miss local listings.
They do.
Sam's Club missed on some local listings when I was trying to hoard toilet paper during the pandemic, and everything else, Clorox wipes, and then some, and it was a large company that had not updated their listings early,
Yeah.
and people
Yeah.
was showing up, because they were doing the same thing everybody else did. They pull it up on their phone, they go to the store, think that it's going to be open, and it made sense that times changed, but
Right.
they didn't update people in the simplest way to get to push customers away is to tell them the wrong time to show up. So it's funny
Yeah.
that small to large, it's not surprising that small people do it because they don't have a team, but when you have a team, it's so important. So Jeff, I ask this of everybody: what's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh my gosh. Favorite movie of all time. Uh, well, I guess I'll have to reveal something here. I actually uh, had a big lofty dream of being an actor at one time, so I got to be an extra in a couple of movies. And one awesome movie that I got to be a part of was the Rainmaker. So I guess, I mean, there's so many really great movies, but being able to be behind the scenes of one, I think you kind of have to pick that one.
Yeah, John Grisham's not a bad one to be in. So that
Yeah,
was
Matt Damon, Danny DeVito. There was some. It was really cool to meet those guys.
That's awesome. So I do ask this though of all our guests. You're on a shark's perspective with me, Mr. Shark. What is your favorite kind of shark and why?
Yeah, see, that's just bad preparation. I should have known that. I should have seen that one coming. What is the one that has the flat wide? Uh,
Are you talking about a tasseled wobbegong?
I have no idea. That I don't know, but yeah, that's it.
All right,
That's it.
tasseled wobbegong. Not exactly the deadliest of fish, but it's one that is extremely unique and will
See,
make
that's the
everybody
marketing.
stop.
That's the marketing in me. Be different and look like a boss.
Yeah,
Even if your bite's not that deadly, I
exactly,
guess.
exactly. So, Jeff, it's that important time in the show where I ask you the most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked today. Are you ready?
No, but
All
go
right.
ahead.
All right. So, you're in the land of Arkansas where basketball is a pretty important subject in the state. Nolan Richardson or Eddie Sutton?
Mm, wow. I'd have to go with no one.
Yeah. Yeah, he won, he
Yeah.
won it all. All right. Number two,
Yeah.
Matt Damon or Danny DeVito?
ah,
Sin-
Matt Damon.
yeah. Since you brought it up, I had to ask. No,
Yeah, that's a good one.
number three, paid search or paid social?
Hmm. Depends on the business, but majority of the time it's paid
Well,
search.
especially for small businesses anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. All right. Number four, something you address with all your clients, marketing or advertising?
Marketing.
Number five, the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
See, when I go to Cracker Barrel, I ask for both.
Thank you. And they will give you both, but on this show you
They
have to pick
will.
one or the other.
If I had to pick, it's going to be biscuits.
All right. So Jeff, where can people find out more about you, get in touch with you, look at you, especially to help them with some small business marketing or advertising needs?
I would love to. I'm taking on new clients now, so they can Google Jeff Turnbow. You can go to jeffturnbow.com, reachturnbow.com, or my new brand, winninglocal.com.
Great. Jeff, thank you again for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
Thanks so much. Good to be with the shark today.
You bet. So there was my conversation with Jeff Turbow, a marketing consultant, speaker, and founder of Winning Local. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with him. First, let's start with working on your fundamentals. Most businesses struggle with little things like Google and running ads or their own social media. Then what's more important to driving business? Having a cool ad or video on a new channel, or focusing on perfecting the channels you're on, especially like updating your G&B hours of operation or running ads effectively on Facebook or even Instagram, where more buyers likely are. If you've got time and money and won't get distracted, then go have fun with a new channel. But unless your audience is only on that new channel, make sure you perfect the ones first where you know they are. Is TikTok or any social channel important? Quite possibly and likely yes. I've watched and enjoyed way too much TikTok lately, but is that what's driving business to your store or your website? But then you've got to ask, if the phones don't ring or sales don't come in, is it too late to ask yourself, were you wrong about putting too much emphasis on that new channel? The basics come down to starting with killing it, with the fundamentals of your business and on the channels where your customers are. In order to succeed, it's not being diverted or distracted by bright, shiny new objects. Second, no better place for customer experience than at the small local business level. That tailor-made focus they have on taking care of you is what made you their customer. They hear you at a closer level. They actually have a phone number where you can easily talk to someone. But then it's where a lot of companies miss, because it's where experience falls on their priority level because they think they can grow to make a sacrifice for it. Customers may lower the bar on expectation with small businesses, but only to some degree. I know I give a benefit of the doubt to them often on occasion, but if you only had $100 to spend on something, you don't want that money to go to waste, or you didn't work less hard for that $100 because the smaller business doesn't treat you well. When SMBs start prioritizing CX lower and lower, then they often lose customers to their bigger competitors. Never lose sight of experience as part of a growth strategy. It's often what makes you different, and it stops a lot of the churn and burn. Big companies spend a lot of money acquiring new customers and not nearly enough taking care of the current ones like SMBs historically used to do. Don't fall into the trap of being sales-centric when you should be customer-centric. Third, think about the wow moments that your brand delivers, whatever they are, that creates that takeaway for your customer. Big or small, the moments can be small or big. But what are you doing to stand out so that they remember, good or bad? Real memorable moments that draw attention to your brand. Got a question? Send me an email to kenneth@asharksperspective.com. Thank you again for the privilege of your time. Go support the businesses close to you and join us on the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.